Philly, North, me, I got something that I need to prove. I cannot lose, nah. Everything I do that really is news. You look confused, why? You are what you choosing to do. Me, I've been making the moves, paying my dues, getting this done with the fam. Y'all know that I am the dude.
All right, now let's get into the rest of these games because the slate this week is exciting. We got 14 games left, and tomorrow is going to be huge. First news in Cincinnati, Ja'Marr Chase is expected to play, but he's questionable. Obviously, he's been dealing with his contract situation. And T. Higgins is doubtful with a hamstring injury. So if you're a T. Higgins owner in fantasy football, you need to be very wary. I would go ahead and pull him off. Personally, I would go ahead and pull him out of the lineup and stick somebody else in there and then keep an eye on it, as opposed to not doing that and then him being out. So I'd rather get somebody in who's going to be active for sure that I like. But if T. Higgins does get ruled able to play, then at that point in time tomorrow, I would consider flipping him back in. But this has tremendous impact on Jermaine Burton. So just like Xavier Worthy, I think that Jermaine Burton has the potential to have big play, huge, massive play opportunities. Anytime that he touches the ball, and he touched the ball in preseason, I know it's preseason, he was playing against guys that didn't even make the fucking final rosters, but when you average 20 yards per reception, that's extremely valuable in fantasy football, especially when Tyler Boyd is now gone from Cincinnati, Joe Mixon is now gone from Cincinnati, Ja'Marr Chase has not been at practice, T. Higgins has been battling an injury. Who do you think has been taking these wide receiver reps? Probably the rookie from Alabama. So, big play opportunity guy right here. If he's not on your roster, he's not rostered on more than 50% of fantasy football leagues. So, I'm warning you, Jermaine Burton, he's coming in Cincinnati. Russell Wilson is out with a calf injury against the Falcons this weekend. Obviously, this has a tremendous impact because Justin Fields is probably going to get the start. It was neck and neck anyways. Russell Wilson was good, and he's not. Now he's not again, and it was. So, I don't know what's going on here. I expect Pittsburgh to suck, honestly. This does impact Pittsburgh's receivers, though. With Russell Wilson in the football game, their passing is going to be much more efficient than it is going to be with Justin Fields. With Justin Fields, you're probably looking at more establishing the run game between Najee Harris and Jayden Warren. So, if, in fact, Russell Wilson does not play, I would bump George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth, and nobody's starting Calvin Austin III or Van Jefferson. But if you've got those guys on your roster, they're going to take a dip. Roman Wilson, side note on Pittsburgh's offense, Roman Wilson, who's listed as their fourth receiver, he's also been ruled out. So that is going to add a little bit more value to those receivers. But again, if Russell Wilson isn't in the game, I don't put a whole lot of stock into those guys. So as much as I'm not a Russell Wilson fan and never really have been, he is a much more accurate quarterback than Justin Fields. Antonio Gibson expects to play, but he is questionable. He has been a limited participant at practice in New England. He's battling a hip injury. This was looked at from all of preseason as who's going to win the job in New England. My answer is who fucking cares? New England's going to be horrible. They're not going to score very much this year. But if anything at all is going on with Antonio Gibson, that's only going to add tremendous value to Ramondre Stevenson. So hopefully you've got better options in your flex and your running back spot. But if you don't and you were looking for a time to play him, this is probably the time. Because once Antonio Gibson does get healthy, probably going to be a little bit more of a balanced split in this offense. This next injury is huge. Josh Downs has been ruled out with an ankle. So he was the clear number 2 receiver in Indianapolis last season. And then they drafted Don Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell looks extremely explosive. They like to run these crossing patterns and bring A.D. Mitchell on a drag underneath. So if the defense is looking for guys like Michael Pittman, who's going to have 15 targets in this game with Josh Downs being out, expect a home run from A.D. I don't necessarily know about the volume that A.D. Mitchell's going to get with Josh Downs being ruled out, but I definitely think that he has big play impact on this football game. In Tennessee, DeAndre Hopkins is questionable with a knee. He's been a limited participant at practice. Calvin Ridley is going to get the majority of the shares in what I assume is going to be a pass-heavy offense. You've got Tony Pollard and you've got Tyjae Spears in the backfield who aren't tremendously, big, physical type of running backs. But they both have the ability to get out in space, make plays, catch the football. Will Levis is an absolute gunslinger. He reminds me of Brett Favre. He is going to make a bunch of mistakes. He's going to take a lot of risks, but the ball is going to get pushed down the field. So I love DeAndre Hopkins. For that reason, he's still D-Hop. Don't get it twisted. But if he's battling anything at all, Tyler Boyd might actually get a few more looks in this offense. So I don't expect anybody to play or start him, but just a heads up, if this injury becomes anything persistent or it gets worse, Tyler Boyd is a more than capable wide receiver. So Keenan Allen has been a full participant at practice. I don't expect him to miss. He's pretty much a guy that's always listed as questionable. This would obviously impact Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. I would kind of shy away from all three of these guys week one. Not only are they going against Tennessee, who has a really solid defense, they got a top 10 secondary, top 15 defense overall. They got a rookie quarterback. I can see Tennessee throwing a couple wrenches in Chicago's game plan this weekend. This just come out today. Brandon Ayuk is expected to get less snaps in what I'm assuming to be as punishment for his lack of participation in the whole contract ordeal in San Francisco. Ayuk gets more targets per game than Deebo Samuel when they're both on the football field. But if he's going to have a limited number of snaps due to his missed camp, that concerns me. Now, he's still Brandon Ayuk, but I already had concerns because he only did so well last year fantasy-wise because seemingly every single one of his catches were for huge plays. 80% of his receptions went for either first downs or touchdowns, which is also an anomaly. So I've had a little bit of an asterisk next to Brandon Ayuk's production kind of all preseason. But with all the drama and shit that he even admitted that he made it harder than it needed to be. This doesn't so much impact like Jawan Jennings, who's, kind of their next receiver. But I do think that this impacts George Kittle's numbers. So if you're looking for a reason to be excited about George Kittle, because he hasn't really been the most dominant fantasy football tight end as of late, get a little bit more excited about him now. He's been at camp. He's got the work in. Really like George Kittle in this game against the tough New York Jets defense. Tyler Lockett's been a full participant in practice. He's listed as questionable. He's more than likely going to play. But in the event that his numbers are limited, if you are on the fence about Jackson Smith and Jigba, which, to be honest with you, Lockett and him are pretty much the same as far as I'm concerned. But if one's down, then the other goes up. It's just that simple. DK Metcalf is the number one guy in Seattle. But if Tyler Lockett's going to be limited or battling an injury at all, look for Jackson Smith and Jigba targets to go up. This one right here is enormous. So DJ Chark is very, very capable receiver in Los Angeles, but he's been ruled out this game and placed on IR. So I have been on a hill saying that Josh Palmer is going to be the number one receiver in this offense. A lot of people are expecting Ladd McConkey, the rookie, to be the number one receiver in this offense. So doesn't matter either way you slice it. Quentin Johnson isn't really much of an impact player, but Josh Palmer and Ladd McConkey both now have extremely high fantasy value. So if you've got those two guys, be excited about it. Maybe see how week one goes. They've got a relatively decent matchup. So, but I do expect with him being out, it's going to be pretty heavy Josh Palmer and Ladd McConkey. Christian McCaffrey is going to play, but I got to bring it up. He's been a limited participant. He's listed as questionable. I think he's going to play, but this is a marathon and not a sprint. They don't have to have Christian McCaffrey in 60 snaps of offense to win this football game. Although the Jets are incredibly good, I think that the San Francisco 49ers are better off limiting his amount of touches and getting this Jordan Mason guy involved in the offense. So Elijah Mitchell is on IR. He's out for the rest of the season. The rookie out of Louisville, Isaac Garendo, he's a limited participant at practice with a groin injury. Jordan Mason should get a few more touches. Now, less than half of people playing fantasy football have Jordan Mason rostered. Now, Jordan Mason has been added a shit ton over the last week for this San Francisco offense. Not telling you to start or anything with Jordan Mason, but probably worth a roster spot.
How you play the game with the people that writing the rules? Ain't the fame that I'm after when paying the dues. I've been through the pain that's reflected in the attitude. Might be winning now, but the thing is that I had to lose. So go and tell me what you really want.